This is Radio Nepal. I'm Kaushal Ghimire with the news, the headlines first. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda and UML Chairman KP Sharma Oli discuss government's effectiveness and power sharing. Prime Minister Dahal says government focused on improving country's economy. Raswa Kerung transit point reopens for two-way trade between Nepal and China. And U.S. becomes the latest country to impose mandatory COVID tests on visitors from China. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda and CPN-UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli discussed policies and programs to be upheld by the government and its operation. In the meeting held at Prime Minister Dahal's personal residence at Kumaltar yesterday, the two leaders held comprehensive discussions on major policies and programs to be taken by the government. Prime Minister Dahal's personal aide, Ramesh Malla, said they talked about making the government's delivery effective. During the meeting, the two leaders also discussed the decision made in the first meeting of the Council of Ministers led by Prime Minister Dahal. Moreover, Prime Minister Dahal and UML Chair Oli informally discussed the expansion of government and power sharing in the provincial governments. Prime Minister's aide Malla further said the top leaders of the coalition partners will meet at Balwatar today. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dahal shifted to Prime Minister's official residence at Balwatar yesterday. His predecessor, Sherbadu Dewa, also shifted to a rented house at Tumbaharai yesterday itself. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda has said the government will be focused on improving the country's economy. During a meeting with the office bearers of the Nepal Chamber of Commerce, Prime Minister Dahal said he was well aware of the problems the country's economy was facing. He mentioned that he was aware of the liquidity crunch and high interest rate. The Prime Minister said the government was committed to converting the current challenges of the economy into opportunities. Similarly, Chamber's chairperson Rajendra Malla drew the government's attention to the present economic condition by submitting an 8-point memorandum to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda met CPN Unified Socialist Chair Madhav Kumar Nepal yesterday. Prime Minister Dahal's Secretariat said the Prime Minister urged the Unified Socialist to join the government during the meeting. Likewise, Prime Minister Dahal also met Janta Samajwadi Party Chairperson Upendra Yadav. In the meeting, Prime Minister Dahal discussed the matters of the Janta Samajwadi Party's participation in the government. In reply, Janta Samajwadi Party's Chair Yadav said his party would decide the matter after the election of the party's parliamentary party leader. The Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, RPP, has decided to join the government. The meeting of the Central Work Execution Committee held yesterday under the chair of Party President Rajendra Lingdin decided to play a role in establishing their agenda, including a Hindu state, by participating in the government. Spokesperson Mohan Shrestha shared that the party would participate in the government only after studying the common minimum program of the political parties participating in the government. This was decided at the meeting held at the party office in Tumbaharai. The meeting discussed party's participation in the government, the ideological approach adopted by the party, the role to be played in establishing the political ideals and agenda. As a majority of the leaders suggested that they should participate in the government, the decision to do so was taken. Although the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party provided its support to Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal to form the new government, it had earlier said that it would not participate in the government itself. The party has 14 members in the House of Representatives. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has congratulated Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda on his appointment as the Prime Minister of Nepal. Sending a message yesterday, Bangladeshi Prime Minister Hasina extended her congratulations to Prime Minister Dahal. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the Bangladeshi Prime Minister expressed her wish to work closely with the new Nepali government to strengthen the multifaceted relations for the mutual benefit of the two nations. She also invited Prime Minister Dahal for a visit to Bangladesh. Rasua Kerung port between Nepal and China has officially resumed its operation for two-way trade. Issuing a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the Department of Commerce of the Tibet Autonomous Region of China organized an official ceremony in Kerung yesterday to observe the opening of the port. Similarly, Hilsa Purang port has also opened for one-way trade since last Monday. President Bidyadevi Bhandari has appointed Sushil Kumar Lamsal, the resident ambassador of Nepal to Egypt, as the non-resident ambassador to the Kingdom of Jordan. Similarly, President Bhandari also appointed Nepal's resident ambassador to the United Nations office in Vienna, Bharat Kumar Regmi, as a non-resident ambassador to the Republic of Slovenia. President Bidyadevi Bhandari has appointed Advocate Dr. Dinmani Pokhrel to the post of Attorney General. Issuing a statement yesterday, the Office of the President confirmed the appointment of Dr. Pokhrel to the post on the recommendation of Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda. Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister Ravi Lamechhane inspected the Department of Passport at Tripureshwar yesterday. The visit by the newly elected Home Minister comes in the wake of news reports of the common people suffering and facing hardship to get their passports. The first meeting of the Council of Ministers had decided to improve service delivery, including those related to passports. Health Ministry has directed the local levels not to send back the health officials who have been deputed exceeding the approved post. Writing to all 753 local levels, the Under-Secretary of the Ministry, Mohan Nirola, asked the local levels not to send back the employees. He said the Ministry itself would finance the salary of the employees who were adjusted in the local levels but who did not have the approved post. Earlier, the local bodies and provincial governments had returned the employees at the ministry if they were adjusted at the local and provincial levels without approved posts. You're listening to Radio Nepal's 8 a.m. English News Bulletin. Time for a short break now.
भाउजू दर्शन
भाग्यमानी बाबु राम्ररी आइपुग्नु भयो नि
हजुर राम्ररी पुगे उ चाहिँ मेरो कलेजको बेस्ट फ्रेन्ड
नमस्ते भाउजू
नमस्ते आउनु न भित्रै
हुन्छ भाउजू
अनि दादा त अफिस गइसक्नु भयो होला है
उहाँ त बिहानै हो हुन्छ तपाईहरु फ्रेश हुँदै गर्नु न म खाना तयार गर्दै गर्छु है
हस् भाउजू
ओइ वाइफाई होला नि पासवर्ड माग्न
हे त पनि एनटीसी को सस्तो डे प्याक छदैछ नि
ए हो र
एनटीसी को डे प्याक लिन *1415# डायल गर्न
Nepal Telecom Rashtrako Sanchar. You're listening to Radio Nepal's 8 a.m. English News Bulletin. Now on to some international updates. The U.S. has become the latest country to impose mandatory COVID tests on visitors from China after it announced it would reopen its borders next week. Tighter measures have also been brought in by Italy, Japan, Malaysia, Taiwan, and India. After almost 3 years of restrictions, China will let people travel more easily from 8th of January. At the same time, the country is facing a surge in COVID cases, leading to wariness among some countries. However, China said coronavirus rules should be brought in on a scientific basis and accused some countries and media of hyping up the situation. The United Kingdom government says it had no plans to reintroduce testing or other entry requirements for travelers. Meanwhile, Hong Kong is dropping almost all its COVID restrictions this week following a similar move by mainland China. From Thursday, which is today, people arriving in the city will no longer have to do a mandatory PCR test. Now, the general weather forecast for the country for today, according to the Meteorological Forecasting Division. The weather will be partly to generally cloudy in hilly regions of Province Number 1, Bagmati Province, Gandaki Province, and Lumini Province, and it will be mainly fair in the rest of the country. There are also chances of light snowfall at 1 or 2 places in the eastern high mountainous region. With this, we have almost come to the end of this news bulletin, but before wrapping up, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda and UML Chairman KP Sharma Oli discuss government's effectiveness and power sharing. Prime Minister Dahal says government focused on improving country's economy. Rasuwa Kerung transit point reopens for two-way trade between Nepal and China, and U.S. becomes the latest country to impose mandatory COVID tests on visitors from China. Well, that's all the news we have for this bulletin. Our next bulletin in English will be at 2 in the afternoon. You can also listen to us online at our website www.onlineradionepal.gov.np. Keep listening to Radio Nepal and have a good day.